All right. So you're getting logged in here. We got, see if I can get all set up. Everybody joins? I doubt it, but possibly. Doesn't ever seem to work that way. All right, 4 people in here so far. Let's see, pop out that chat. All right, I think we're going now. Hey there, DT Quail. How are you? Good to see you in here too. Glad you made it. Giant Angoras, you're back. Good to see you. Who else we got in here? Natalie Lopez. Hello. Glad you made it. All right, well, we're waiting everybody to get in here. Let's see what's going on today. Crazy Missouri weather. Let's see, it was 60 degrees yesterday, 57 when I woke up this morning. It is now 22 degrees out and sleet. A little bit of ice on everything. Not too much, though. It shouldn't be too bad. But still, just, I mean, good grief, what a change. 40-degree drop in temperature in like 12 hours. Cold. Connor, welcome back. Glad to see you made it. But, it is January, and believe it or not, spring is right around the corner. We've already crossed the winter solstice, and the days are starting to get a little bit longer, just a little bit each day. That'll start picking up as we go, and then, who knows? It won't be long before we'll be starting seeds for the garden and all those good things. Swordsman. Something about your jumbo pharaoh. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're asking a question or making a statement there. Giant Angoras, you have some people placing orders on kits. You don't have any, but you hope to have some soon. But you've already got them pre-sold. That's fantastic. Well done. I don't have good luck with selling rabbits around here. Of course, I don't focus on giant and German Angora rabbits. It may be a little bit harder to come by. So, good job. Congratulations on that. It's nice to have them pre-sold before you even have them. All right. Oh, okay. Swordsman, you're saying your jumbo pharaoh quail, the hens reject the rooster. So I'm not sure what that means exactly. How are they rejecting the rooster? What are they doing exactly? Are they fighting with the rooster when he tries to breed? Are they doing something like that? Could be a number of different reasons for that. If there's not quite enough light on them, it may be that your roosters are in the breeding mood, but your hens aren't. So if you don't have 14 hours of light, that's the first thing I would correct on that. And that's really my best suggestion right now. My guess is that they're getting bred. If you have, that may be the other problem too, is you may have too many roosters. If you have more than like 1 rooster for every 3 hens, they're probably going to be overbred, and then they will start fighting back a little bit and start rejecting the roosters a little bit like that. So that could be something that could be causing that problem. All right, who else we got in here? Rachel McVeigh, howdy, how are you doing? Thomas's Outdoor Projects, good evening to you. Singleman, more cooking videos. Take pity on a bachelor, huh? Yeah, I'll do my best to get some more cooking videos out there. I don't know, it's tough. I don't want to make this just a cooking channel necessarily, but I'll try to do some more videos on cooking rabbit. I've done a few. Get some more videos on cooking some quail as well. We'll get those out there sometime soon. Nathan, hey, how are you? Good to see you here. Rough Road Homestead's on. Good evening to you. And yeah, 1 rooster to 5 hens is a good ratio. Yeah, absolutely. I do 1 to 5, 1 to 4. Usually what I do is about 1 to 4, and then I'll have like 20 hens in there. So I'll have 1 to 5. Excuse me, let me back up. I do a 1 to 5 ratio, and then I just throw 1 extra rooster in the bunch. So for 20 hens, I would do 4 roosters plus 1, so 5 roosters. Comes out to 1 to 4 ratio on those guys, but I always just throw 1 extra rooster in. It doesn't matter how many I have. If I have 30 birds, 40 birds, whatever, I just throw 1 extra rooster in. But 1 to 4, 1 to 5 is a good ratio. What else we got here? Frank says, love your rabbit vids. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you find them helpful. Swordsman says they run away even, body slam into the pin wall, 15 hours of light, one rooster, five hens. Well, maybe. Are you sure the hens are not getting bred? Look at. I mean, are they missing some feathers on the back of their head? Because if you have a young rooster that just hit maturity, they can be a little bit overly aggressive sometimes. So it may just be that they're tired of being bred right now. 15 hours of light's plenty of light. Sounds like your rooster to hen ratio is good. If they're pretty new to each other, like they just hit maturity or something like that, you might just give them a little while. Or if the rooster is new to the group, like he's a new bird, all the others have been together, and then you just threw the rooster in there, again, just give them a little while to get used to each other, and they should get over that. All right, DT Quail and Rabbitry says, if you don't mind me asking, how much did you pay for your silver fox? Oh, my silver fox doe. Let's see, I think, how much was she? $10 maybe 15. I don't remember. I got a pretty good deal on her though. I found her from somebody that was kind of getting ready to get rid of some of her rabbits, and that was one of them that she was wanting to get rid of to downsize. So I bought her and a bunch of quail, and I can't remember what all I got, but I ended up with a really good deal. I think I paid $10 or $15 for her though. Total mess. I've got, oh man, a whole bunch of stuff over here. This is all my seed starting stuff, which I'm going to be breaking out here in a couple of weeks. I've got some. let me get some stuff down here. Show you guys what I got up here. These are rabbit's foots that I've dried. Actually, that's a tail. Rabbit foots. I've dried them, put them through the process, but I haven't really done anything else with them. They look pretty shaggy right now, but they'll be fine until I get ready to mount them on a key ring or something like that. These are all actual tails. I think the feet are underneath. So they're in the other one. But anyway, those were. Tell you guys where they were. They were actually in my kitchen. Well, not my kitchen, my dining room. They were on a shelf in there, and I figured at Christmas time when everybody was coming over, might be good to get the dead animal parts out of the dining room. Some people might not find that quite as amusing as I did, so I decided to move them, and this is just where I stuck them and haven't moved them since then. Yeah, I know, excuses. So, Alan is saying, Giant Angora, you should post more videos. I haven't seen any videos for a little while. I've been to your channel before, but it's been a little while since I've been there. So you've got one fan that at least that wants to see more stuff. So post away. DT Quail and Rabbitry says you have Rabbitry says have a guy coming over tonight for a silver fox 6-week-old buck for $35. That's a pretty good price for you. Pretty good price for you. If they go for that much in your area, then by all means sell them for that much in your area, because I can't get a rabbit sold for $35 around here. Most of them, I have been having problems with my breeding this year. I think my buck is done. Initially, if you guys have been watching the videos, I did some videos on breeding the rabbits. She only had 2 kits. They both died. First time mom issues. I bred him to my silver fox doe. She never had any babies. I think it may be my buck. He's going on about 3 or 4 years old now, and I think he just may be done. So I'm thinking about getting a new buck, and I've been looking around, and I can find purebred New Zealands for $15, maybe $20 at the most, breeding age, right at a year old. So that's about the most you're going to get out of a rabbit, and babies tend to go for a little bit less. They're just not expensive around here. I can't sell. There's not much of a market for me to get into to sell rabbits around here, unless you get into some of the specialties like like the lop ears, the pet rabbits, those kinds of things. Some of those go for a little bit more. All right, Singleman says, I'm having trouble finding good chicks. That's probably why you're still single, huh? So, no, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I'm having problem finding good chicks. Fertile eggs are easy, but my hatch rate sucks. Have you gone through my my storing and hatching eggs series? If not, you might want to go through that. I had problems with hatches for a while. I learned some new tricks, shared those on all those videos. The biggest thing that's usually going to cause it is a temperature issue. So depending on what kind of incubator you're using, if you're using one of the styrofoam, like a Little Giant or a Farm Innovations or a Hovabator, some of those kinds of things, It could be that the thermostat's reading off just a little bit. So, get you an external thermometer, like a dial style, not a digital, but one that has a dial on it that can be calibrated. Calibrate it. Make sure you calibrate it first, and then put it in there. And actually get two of them, so you can make sure they read the same. And you'll have three thermometers, and you'll be able to tell. If two of them are the same and one of them's off, you know that that's the wrong thermometer. You know what I'm saying. But make sure you calibrate that thermometer. Stick those in your incubator. And check to make sure that your thermostat on your incubator is working properly. Those are notorious for being off just a degree or two one way or the other, and a degree or two difference can make a big difference in your hatch rates. That's usually the biggest issue that you find. The other thing would be, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's almost always the case if you're having issues. So try that out and see if that works. Come back and let me know, and I'll do my best to give you a hand with that. All right, let's see. Chat's just kind of scrambling here. Rachel McVeigh says, my rabbit never did breed. My does are 1 year and never lift. I tried all the tricks and nothing. Is it time to turn them to stew? Well, you can do, if they've never bred before, one thing you might try, and you said you tried all the tricks, the thing that I always recommend, and you may have tried this already, so if it's a repeat, just forgive me, I'm going to go through it anyway, is just trying over and over again. So try morning, and then if they don't lift, take them out, try again in that evening. If they don't lift, take them out, put them back in the next morning. Take them out, put them back in the next evening. Take them out, put them back in the next morning. Usually by about the third or fourth day, they lift and they're ready to go. If not, you might try adding some light. Give them about 12 to 14 hours of light. Just put some artificial lights in their hutch or whatever. And sometimes that'll get them in the mood to breed. I've heard apple cider vinegar, a little bit of that in their water. And you're talking like, less than a capful in a water bottle, a full-size water bottle, just a little bit. That can help put them in the breeding mood sometimes. Those are a couple of tricks. If all else fails, you can go with forced breeding, which you would just kind of hold the doe, put your hand over her eyes, kind of keep her calm, put your hand under her belly, because sounds like your buck is probably willing. Put your hand under her belly and kind of lift her up a little bit and let the buck mount, and that's a forced breeding. I use that as kind of a last resort. But sometimes first-time breeders, they get reluctant, and that's what they need. Kind of primes them, so to speak. Usually don't have a problem with them after that. So there's a couple of suggestions on that. Who's this? Great Falcons. Hello from Carolinas. Well, hello. Thanks for joining. Joe Shelburne says, I guess I'm a redneck so cold I brought mini Rex doe in the house. She had 6 kits first litter. Well, hey, congratulations on your new litter of kits there. I don't know if bringing them in the house makes you a redneck or not, but if you are, welcome to the club. So, Rough Road Homestead says, good news, 8 healthy babies born New Year's Day when it was minus 15. Doe spent that first week sitting on the nest to keep them warm. Never hurt a single one. She's such a good mom. I find that everybody gets paranoid about the kids freezing to death, but, as long as they're in the nest, they do incredibly well, stay incredibly warm, way down. Now, when you say minus 15, is that minus 15 temperature or minus 15 wind chill? And is that Fahrenheit or Celsius? I'm guessing it's Fahrenheit. Joanne says, have you done a foot processing video? Yes, I have. I have done a video on how to make a rabbit's foot keychain. I think it's just called How to Make a Rabbit's Foot Keychain. You should be able to find it back in my videos. Search for it, maybe you'll be able to find it. If not, come back after the video post in the comments section. I'll look it up for you and I'll post a link for you. Joanne says, Rachel, if a doe that doesn't lift, I leave them in 24 hours. I would actually recommend against doing that. Nothing wrong with what you're doing, Joanne. If it works out, it works out well. The reason I say you probably shouldn't do that is for 2 reasons. One is you don't know if they bred or not, so you're just going to have to assume that she's pregnant. And, who knows when, if she's going to have babies or not. But the biggest reason is females can get a little bit moody. They can get a little bit territorial. And they can actually castrate your buck or, seriously injure the buck if they get that way. Not all rabbits have that temperament. So again, Joanne, if you're not having that problem, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. That's not what I mean. I would just suggest against doing that as a general rule of thumb. Giant Angora says, thumbnail for the spaghetti rabbit. Oh, the rabbit spaghetti looks so good. That was pretty good. That if you guys haven't seen that video, the one I posted was a recipe video for rabbit spaghetti. I change that up a little bit every time I make it. The standard is always the cream of mushroom soup, always the cheese, but then I mix up what else I put in there. Sometimes it's bell peppers, sometimes it's green chilies, last time it was green chilies with black olives. Sometimes it's banana peppers. I like a little bit more cayenne in it, but my wife doesn't. So, it just depends. It makes a ton of food. You can actually freeze that too. If you make that casserole ahead of time, don't bake it, but make everything else and then stick it in the freezer. You can freeze it for up to like almost a year and then just take it out and bake it when you're ready for it. So that's pretty convenient that way. Joe Shelburne says rabbits need to be bred before 1 year of age, or they will be hard to breed. That's true, Joe. Good point. Yeah, if they're over a year old, it can make it, the females anyway. The males don't usually have that much of a problem, but females over a year old that have never been bred sometimes will be difficult to get to breed. But again, once you get them to breed that first time, you usually don't have any problems. You may have to go with that first breeding kind of thing, and then after that, it's usually fine. Okay, Will Brady says, I just bought a rabbit with a small case of ear mites, and the previous owner said to put hydrogen peroxide in the ears. Is that okay? Not a good choice, Will. And let me tell you, there's no such thing as a small case of ear mites. It's just not a bad case yet. It's going to get bad if you don't get it corrected. Don't use hydrogen peroxide, but don't worry. Ear mites, super easy to treat. Any kind of food grade oil, olive oil, mineral oil, canola oil, any kind of food grade oil is going to work. Get you a little bit of an eyedropper and just put a drop or two in each ear. Now that rabbit's not going to like it. They're going to shake their head and try to pull away, but just put a drop or two in each ear. Do that for probably the first 3-4 days, something like that, and then watch their ears very closely. You may have to repeat it every other day for another week. That'll take care of them. That'll get rid of them. But get rid of them before it passes it on to all your other rabbits, or you're going to have ear mites everywhere. And if you don't know what to look for, just look for scabs inside their ear. So just, add that oil to their ear every day for about 3 or 4 days, and then go every other day until the scabs disappear. You don't need to scrape the scabs out. You don't need to do anything else. Just a couple of drops, 1 or 2 drops in each ear. That's it. And it'll take care of it. All right. Yeah, I would not say, again, I would not say peroxide, though. Peroxide's bad. It can do a lot of tissue damage. Not a good choice. Go with the oil instead. All right, Single Moon, laughing at my joke, says, I'm a widower that never found that decent replacement. I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't mean to bring up anything. Hopefully it's not too upsetting. But hey, you know what? Hold out for the right woman, because, you can make big mistakes. Too many people rush quickly into relationships. They mistake lust for love, and it can be a very bad thing in the end. So no problem with being single. I was single for a long time, not for the same reason, but I found a good woman eventually. Got married this last May and couldn't be happier. So hang in there. You may find somebody, and if you don't, sounds like you're doing okay on your own. You're going to be fine. But I'm sure that there's somebody out there for you. All right, Giant Angora says, I love olives, all types. I like olives too. Not necessarily all types, but most types I like. All right, Great Falcons. I got a question. What would you do? I'm getting started with quail. I bought over 45 babies almost 8 weeks ago, but I got another deal coming thinking about it. I found eggs, $2 US a dozen, and 6 weeks. I don't know what... I found eggs $2 US a dozen and 6 weeks. I'm not sure what you mean by 6 weeks. You mean you found eggs for $2 a dozen and 6-week-old quail? Honestly, for me, there it continues. I'm sorry. The next comment continues. 6-week-old babies, $2 US a piece. Should I get any of them or just wait on mine to start laying and hatch those? You got 45 babies. You know what? It depends. I mean, is there something special about these new birds? Are they a different, breed? Are they like jumbos where yours aren't? Something like that. If they are and you want that kind of bird, then by all means, get some. But as far as just getting eggs, you bought 45 babies almost 8 weeks ago. If you've got, 14 hours of light on them a day, they'll probably start laying in no time whatsoever. So you might just hold out for those guys to lay if all you're looking for is to get the eggs and to incubate them yourself. as long as your roosters are crowing. Now, what I have found is when the temperature gets really really cold, and part of that's because my lights don't work that well in the cold, but when it gets really cold, like when it was down to like 0, 1, 2 degrees lows, my birds pretty much quit laying. But a big part of that is because the lights, the solar lights, don't work as well. The batteries don't stay charged, so the lights aren't staying on quite long enough. It's been kind of gloomy out, so they're not getting enough light. So that's really the biggest part of that. But the other thing is that when it's that cold, the eggs are freezing anyway, so you can't incubate them. So if you're just looking to get some meat runs and you want some eggs for some meat runs and your birds aren't laying yet, then heck yeah, go ahead and pick up some eggs, incubate them, do some meat runs with them. Or, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. If it was me, and I mean, I don't see any reason to get new birds. Yours are 8 weeks old. They're about right at laying age. So I don't see any reason to get new birds unless there's something special about the new birds that you want. All right, Rough Road Homestead says -15 temperature Fahrenheit. Good grief, that's cold. I thought it was cold here, but nowhere near that cold. Boy, I don't know what to say to that. Just good luck. All right, Jane Angora says, once my rabbits had her ear mites, I put oil, I think. It was a long time ago. Yeah, just any kind of vegetable oil, mineral oil, olive oil, coconut oil, any kind of food grade oil is going to work just fine. Singleman says olive oil or spray on Pam. I've never used spray on Pam. I guess that would work. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. There might be something in the aerosol, the propellant, but I can't imagine it'd be that bad. You just got to realize that when you put that in their ears, like again, they're going to shake their head like crazy, and that's okay because that slings the oil all around and it suffocates the mites. But they're also going to pull it down. They're going to dig at it with their paws and lick it. So you don't want anything on there. You will hear people talk about using WD-40. Don't do that. Not good at all. It'll probably kill the mites, but not good for your rabbit when you got everything you need in your kitchen cabinet. Giant and Gormans, that's a strange question. You said, have you ever read Romeo and Juliet? Yes, I have read Romeo and Juliet. It's been a while, but yes, I'm familiar with it. You played Romeo in the play at school. Well, I was never much of an actor, so I didn't do any plays myself, but I guess you could have a worse part. Chris Ocho says, how's it going? I'm doing well. How are you doing? Great Falcons Creation says, thank you for your answer. Hey, no problem. You're welcome. All right. Singleman calling me a kiddo. I don't know if I should be called a kiddo or not, but hey, I appreciate it. All right, what time are we? We're 23 minutes in, and the chat has slowed down. So let's see, what else can we talk about tonight? I usually let the chat kind of dictate the way that the video is going to go. But hey, if we don't have a lot of questions coming out, then let's talk about some other things tonight. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? LLJ's talking about your ear mites. Yeah, your rabbit came with ear mites. The breeder told you to use ivermectin monthly. It didn't work for him, obviously. Mr. Chris says use vegetable oil and are perfect now. Didn't take long at all. You know, ivermectin will work, but it's a pesticide, and I find really there's no reason to use a pesticide. You could use it monthly. I mean, it's like a topical, or they may make an oral one as well. But you really, if you're there for meat rabbits especially, you do not want to use any of that kind of stuff on them if you're going to use them for meat. You need to wean them off that like at least 30 days before you eat any of the meat. And I just don't even like introducing pesticides into my rabbits if I don't have to. And, you know, vegetable oil, olive oil, any of that stuff working really well. Why even introduce, you know, pesticides into it? I don't see any reason. Chris says, moved my 4-week-old quail outside, temperature was low 30s. Is that okay? Did it due to bad smell and got tired of cleaning brooder? Should be fine. If you had a brooder box where they were 100 degrees and you took them from that 100-degree brooder box right out to 30-degree weather, there may be a little bit of a shock to them. You need to kind of acclimate them to that just a little bit. But 4 weeks old is perfectly fine. They should be able to handle the cold, and 30 degrees is not that cold for them. They should be able to do fine. They're fully feathered out by 4 weeks old. I would give them, you know, maybe take the light off of them in the garage a couple of days to get them, you know, kind of a little bit more acclimated to the temperature, a little bit of a drop in temperature before moving them directly outside. But yeah, as far as smell and cleaning the brooder box, yeah, 4 weeks old, They are messy. You're all yeah. It's going to be a chore to keep up with the cleaning. I usually don't keep mine in the brooder box for more than about 2 to 3 weeks at the most. In the wintertime, I'll go maybe 3 weeks. In the summertime, it's like 2 weeks. As soon as they're feathered out, I start weaning them off the light for a couple of days, and then they go out to the grow out pens. Issy says, how old should baby bunnies be before they can be left to play with their buck dad? Really never. I mean, if you're doing like a colony setup where you've got all your rabbits just kind of mixed together, which I'm guessing you're not, because otherwise you wouldn't be asking when can you leave them alone. They'd always be with the buck. But other than that, I wouldn't leave them in a cage with the buck by himself. Bucks can get a little bit aggressive with kits, especially babies that are maybe looking for their mom to try to nurse, or just a little bit more rambunctious, be a little bit more crowded cage. It's not really a good idea to leave them with the buck. Yeah, Giant Angors is saying the same thing. Never let two males together unless neutered. But DT Quail and Rabbitry says, when do you start collecting eggs for incubation again? When? Oh no, I think. Hopefully the video's not lagging too much. Did we lose connection? Let's see. No, I'm still connected. I see a spinning hourglass on my screen. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I don't know. It may just be my internet connection on my end. Oh, this laggy internet. Driving me nuts. All right, well, I don't know if you can hear me or not, if this is going to come through or not, but let's talk about it. I start collecting eggs when everything thaws out, when they stop freezing, because when they're frozen, there's no sense in collecting them anyway. The birds really aren't even breeding right now because the light has kind of dropped off. When the roosters start crowing again, I'll know that they're in breeding mode again. I'll start giving them about 2 weeks before I start collecting those eggs. But again, I'll wait for the eggs to before when nothing's frozen anymore. Then I'll start collecting them for incubating. All right, so am I coming through okay? I've got the other screen here on my computer that's open so I can read the chat, and it's showing the video, but the video is just spinning. Is everybody else? Are you guys seeing me okay? No problems? All right, must be my internet connection on my computer for some reason. I can see the chat coming through, but the video's acting weird. Oh well. As long as you guys can hear me, that's all that matters. Alan Ocampo says, how do you butcher rabbits? Boy, that's a tough question to just answer. I use a broomstick method to dispatch them, which means I kind of lay them down or set them on the ground, put the broomstick, or it's actually just a wooden pole or something like that, behind their neck, put a foot on either side, grab their back legs and pull, dislocates their neck. It's the quickest, most humane way I can find to dispatch them. Hang them up. I usually hang them on just a couple of pieces of string tied in a slip knot around their feet, cut around their feet, pull that skin down, cut it loose around the groin area, pull it all the way off the rabbit. It comes off like a big glove almost. Pull it all the way down, cut the head off, then go back and snip the feet off, open it up, pull all the intestines out, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So I know that may not be great. I do have a video on how to butcher a rabbit, how I do it. It's age restricted for some reason. Apparently you can watch half-naked women running around. That's fine, but if you want to watch somebody butchering their own food, you have to be a certain age to be able to watch that. I don't know. I don't get that, but that's the way it is. But you can go back and watch that video as long as you're over 18, apparently. It's how to butcher a rabbit. In fact, if you do a search, I think it's one of the first videos that comes up. If you just search how to butcher a rabbit. All right. All right, where are we going here? Everything's going good, not lagging. You can hear and see good. Good. Quessy, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Hello to you. No lag. You can hear me good. Hey, Chris, I have my first quail eggs. This is, oh boy, I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. Mariano? Hopefully I got that right. Hey, Chris, I have my first quail eggs. I started watching your vids, went and bought 3 quails, and boom, I now have eggs, and it's winter in Northern California. Well, hey, congratulations on your eggs. I'm so glad that my videos have helped you out a little bit. Winter in Northern California is probably nowhere near what it is here. I'm guessing that you have wintertime, maybe lows in the like 50s. We're getting lows in the like 20s. It's I think it's like 18 degrees out right now. It's just gotten colder all day long. Well, thank you so much for subscribing too. I appreciate that. Show the technique. This is Singleman saying, show the technique of cutting the rabbit fur at midsection and stripping like a shirt and pants. I don't do that myself, but yeah, you could do that for sure. I do that when I clean squirrels sometimes. I pinch the belly skin and pull it away from the meat and then cut it right there. Work my fingers in there either way, and then you just kind of pull it one way or the other, and you just pull it open. Like you said, kind of like taking off shirt and pants off of something. That's how I do squirrels most of the time. Giant Angora says, congratulations on getting 14,000 subscribers. Well, thank you so much. I just noticed that yesterday. I was at 14,000 subscribers. Who would have known? Aloha Quails, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. All right, let's talk for a minute here. Let's see, we're 31 minutes in. I want to talk to you guys for a minute here about kind of the future of this channel, what we're going to do here. I still plan on doing rabbit and quail videos a lot, but I'm going to start branching out a little bit, hopefully. Getting a few more topics in there, specifically some more gardening videos, because I know that's been asked for a lot. So if you guys have specific things you'd like to see from a gardening standpoint, let me know, and I'll make sure I get those things addressed in future videos. It's coming up on garden season right now. I mean, we're almost there. I know it's the dead of winter, but it's time to start planning your garden out. So if you guys want to see some things in gardening, let me know. I'll be happy to get those done. But I also planned on doing some just other types of videos. Like I got some videos on some cast iron and some of those kinds of things coming up. So I will try to get those videos shot and get those mixed in with things. So it may not be, I'm not sure how this is going to work just yet. I've covered pretty much almost every topic I can think of on rabbits and quail. So instead of doing a rabbit video and a quail video every week, I'll do 2 videos every week, Monday and Tuesday. But I'm not sure if they're going to be one of those will probably be a rabbit or a quail video, and then the other one may be something different. So who knows? We'll see how it goes. But I need your guys' help with. Let me know suggestions, what you'd like to see. I have a pretty wide range of ideas, skills, those kinds of things, and I'd be happy to do a lot of different things. All right, let's see. What do we got here? As always, God bless. Hey, God bless to you too, Mariano. Am I pronouncing your name right? Tell me if I'm not. Let's put it that way. Giant Angoras wants me to raise chickens and Angora rabbits. I'm probably not going to raise chickens. I might. You never know. I might change up. But, my quail actually produce plenty of eggs. I don't really need chickens. Might do some ducks at some point. We've talked about that. Probably not going to get into Angora rabbits either. But who knows? That may happen. Rabbit Scheme says, hey, Chris, I have a question. My rabbit was building a nest yesterday, but didn't have birth at night. Well, how many days is she along? If she's 30 days, give her a couple more days. A lot of times they'll build the nest a day or 2 or maybe even 3 days before they actually have the babies. But usually it's pretty quick right after they start doing that. All right, Singleman says, you deserve way more than 14,000 subscribers. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Container gardening for winter is my new thing. Well, hey, let me first of all say thank you again to everybody that subscribed to my videos. To all you guys that join these live broadcasts, I appreciate that. To me, it's not about how many subscribers I can get. It's just about being able to provide a service to you guys to help you out if I can. To those people that are coming in that are brand new. There are a lot of things I find. You can find anything you want on the internet just about, but so many people make it way more complex than it needs to be. I've got a video coming out probably Monday on how to clean a dirty cast iron pan because I've seen so many things on that just make it sound like it would almost scare somebody to death to want to clean their cast iron pan the way that people talk about that and how complex they make it. So I'm hoping to simplify that stuff a little bit. All right, let's see. Giant Angora says I might get ducks. Bye, good night. As always, God bless. It's actually 5 p.m. here. Well, Giant Angoras, you have a good night. Thanks for always joining the live broadcast and interacting with us. Appreciate it, and God bless you too. And let's see, container gardening for winter. So, Singleman, are you container gardening indoors? Are you doing that inside, or are you doing that outside? What I plan on doing this year, and I'll be filming some of this as it goes, is some winter sowing. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with winter sowing, if you know what that is, but it's like starting your plants outdoors in the wintertime. So about the time that you would start them indoors. So like for most plants, that's going to be 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. Mine's around here is like April 15th, but I always go with May 1st. May 1st, so go count back 6 to 8 weeks. And, that's when I would start seeds indoors with the plans of moving them outside. But you're actually going to be starting them outside in like mini greenhouses. I'm going to try a couple of different things to see what works. Never done winter sowing before, so stay tuned for that. We'll see it. I do a little bit of container gardening, so if you guys want some things done on that, I can. What else we got here? LJ says, I have to toss one once because it rusted. My dad bugged out because I didn't ask him if he wanted it. Well, LLJ, as far as cast iron goes, a rusty cast iron, it's super easy to restore it. I've actually got some cast iron. Hang on, let me grab one of them real quick. Yes, it's sitting in here, waiting to be cleaned. But look at this pan. Yeah, this one's pretty rough. But here's the good thing about this, and I'll tell you guys, when you're looking at old cast iron like this, I mean, this is rusty, but it's not pitted. There's not a bunch of pits and divots and things like that in there. This can be restored pretty easily and look, I mean, just as good as ever and be a fantastic pan. And this is actually a pretty good pan because it's not like the brand new pans. The newer pans that are made are, this is a cheap brand, but it's a good pan. The newer pans are kind of rough. They have that kind of bumpy kind of texture to them. And this one's nice and smooth, so it's a good one. Even this, look at that. That's pretty rough. But it's not real pitted and nasty, and it can be restored too. I'll do some videos on this kind of stuff. This is going to probably take an electrolysis tub. But I'll do some videos on that stuff and show you guys how I do that. All right, let me go set these back down. Yes, I have cast iron just sitting right in the other room that needs to be done. All right, so let's see. All right, Rabbit Scheme says, hey, I have a question. My rabbit was building a nest yesterday and never gave birth all night. I think I already answered that question. If not, ask again or ask, further detail, and I'll come back and answer it again. All right, Shannon says, hello from the Boot Hill. Boot Hill, huh? And thanks for all the tips. I'm new to raising quail and have 30-plus new chicks hatched this week. I feel like an experienced professional after watching all your videos. Well, thank you so much, Shannon. I'm glad you found those helpful. And the Boot Hill, huh? I've never been to that part of Missouri. Need to make a trip down there sometime and check it out. Gray Falcon says, maybe videos about the garden of something people, rabbits, or quails might eat. And 1 week, rabbits, and another one, quail videos, unless you can do both. Yeah, that's a good idea. I haven't done videos on naturally feeding rabbits or quail. To me, I don't really, to me, that's a lot of work. A lot more work than just buying pellets and feeding them. And the pellets aren't that expensive, but who knows? I need to do some videos on, I do throw some scraps to the quail occasionally, and occasionally to the rabbits. So yeah, I can work some videos in on that kind of stuff. That's a good idea. Catherine Netson says, I'm always working when you're live, so this is kind of nice to be off early enough to catch some of your live cast. Well, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry, there's never a good time that's good for everybody. So thank you for making the effort to join when you are off work. I appreciate you spending your day off with me, and makes me feel good. All right, Singleman says, I'm picky and you're one of my faves. Restoring cast iron is a hobby of mine. I use vinegar and water. Vinegar is pretty good, actually. Yeah. What I usually do is, most of the time I just scrub them, because you can just, most of that surface rust on most of them, and you can just scrub that right off, no big deal. And then just, a little bit of lard or something like that, throw them in the oven, re-season them basically. Some of those are that lid is pretty rough though. It's got a lot on it. I'm probably going to throw that in the electrolysis tub. That'll take it right down to the bare metal and then just start over with it. And it works fantastic. I'll show all that on video whenever I get ready to do it though. All right, Natalie Lopez says, my mom calls me the green thumb of the family. I always get excited when looking at seed catalogs and imagining how well it will turn out since I have rabbit manure to fertilize the plants. I'm the same way. I talk to everybody about raising plants, getting their seeds, and you can see something else I have right here is the Baker Creek seed catalog. It never gets too far from me. All kinds of great stuff in here, and Baker Creek is just I mean, it's just down the road for me, just on the other side of Springfield. So, hour and a half drive from here. I may make a trip down there and actually pick some things up. All right, Joe Shelburne says, how can I season a new cast iron skillet? If it's a new cast iron skillet, it's probably like Lodge brand or something like that. It's probably pre-seasoned. You probably don't need to season it. If you do need to season it, really most of the time you don't need to, but if you do need to, the way to go about doing that would be get some lard or get some oil. I prefer lard. Coconut oil works pretty well though, and even olive oil could work. But and when I mean lard, not Crisco. Get lard. What you do is you take just a little bit of it. It doesn't take much at all. Rub that over the whole surface of the pan, the handle, everything, and then put it in your oven. And I put it in my oven upside down. Kick that oven up to about 400 degrees. Put it in the oven upside down. Put something underneath it to catch any of the oil that drips off there. But again, it should be very, very thin. You don't want a lot on there, just a very thin layer. Stick it in that oven for 30, 45 minutes, something like that. Kick the oven off, open the door, let it cool down a little bit. You do that about 3 or 4 times, and you've got a really good seasoned cast iron pan, and it's just going to get better the more you use it. All right, Rabbit Scheme says, my rabbit was building a nest like stuffing her mouth with hay and building a nest, but at night she didn't give birth. I think I already answered that question, Rabbit Scheme. You keep coming back and asking, but maybe you didn't hear my answer. Give her another couple of days. Wait. Usually that's a sure tell sign that the rabbit's going to give birth, and they're going to do it pretty quick. Whenever they start doing that hay stash where they're running around with hay sticking out of their mouth, that's almost always that night that they're going to have babies. If that just happened last night, give her another day or two and see. If she doesn't have babies by about 4 or 5 days, then I would consider it a false pregnancy and move on. LJ wants to know if I've ever done fodder for my rabbits. No, I've never done fodder for my rabbits, but I've got a pretty good understanding of how to grow fodder. It's pretty easy. I may do it at some point just to do it, and I'll shoot some videos on it if I do. All right, Diana Smith says, hello from Canada. How long can you leave the babies in with mom rabbit? You can leave them in until they're 8 to 12 weeks old. I usually will pull them out. And what I usually do is about 6.5, 7 weeks, something like that. About 6 weeks old usually. I'll take about half of them and I'll put them in a grow out pen or a grow out cage, and I'll leave the other half with the mom for another couple of days, maybe up to a week, just to give her a chance to kind of dry up a little bit slowly. And then take her out and put the rest of them in, not her. Take the babies out and put them in the grow-out pen and let them finish their last week and a half or 2 weeks until they're ready to butcher. But you can actually leave them with the mom all the way up until that point. It just tends to get a little bit crowded, and I like to give the mom a little bit of a break. All right, Joe Shelburne says, season in the oven didn't work well. How hot did you have your oven? I think you're talking about seasoning cast iron. You got to have your oven pretty hot, like 400 degrees. That's really the way to go. And here's what you got to remember about building seasoning. You do it in small layers. It's not all at once. So the first layer you do it, you're not going to see much of a change. It's not going to get that dark, black, nice, what you think of when you see a cast iron pan. It's going to take 4 or 5 times to get that. And the more you cook with it, the darker that will get, the better it will get. I know what you mean, though. At first, it looks like this didn't work at all, but it's seasoned. It's just not going to have that nice dark patina that you usually see with cast iron pans. That just takes a little bit of time to build up. All right, Rabbit Scheme says 4 weeks. Okay, 4 weeks. I think you mean 4 weeks was how long ago that happened. If that happened 4 weeks ago, building the nest, then yeah, she's probably not pregnant. It was probably a false pregnancy. Or a miscarriage. Sometimes they'll miscarry the babies, but usually not that late. But sometimes they will miscarry the babies and then reabsorb them. Good luck. Hopefully it works better. Or maybe you're saying 4 weeks pregnant. Yeah, Natalie's clarifying that. Maybe you're saying 4 weeks pregnant. That would make more sense. Yeah, 4 weeks pregnant. Then don't give up yet. Just give them another couple of days, maybe a week. It's not uncommon for a rabbit. Usually they're 30 days, but it's not uncommon for them to go 35 days. So give them another week, a week and a half at the most, and then consider it a failed pregnancy. All right, Mariano says, can I feed quail barley, wheat, peas, and millet? I'm a truck driver and haul that stuff for my dog food company called Diamond Pet Food. Let's see, barley, wheat, peas, and millet. That shouldn't be their primary diet, but yes, it's okay to feed them that stuff. Barley, wheat, peas, millet. The wheat, yes, it's going to be fine. I had to think about that for a minute. I don't think any of those things are all fine. You should be able to feed them to it, but it can't be the only thing you feed them. They need insect protein, especially if you're going to be breeding them and all those kinds of things. They need some insect protein and some of those other kinds of things in there and some calcium. And that's why I get a game bird starter and use that because it's just got everything in there. It's easier that way. But yeah, it could be a part of their feed. You're just going to have to do something to up the protein a little bit and to, again, it's got to be insects too. You've got to have some kind of animal protein in there and calcium. All right. Where are we at now? Questy says, I actually leave my babies with their moms for like 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, I do too. A lot of times I leave them in there all the way up till 8 weeks, but most of the time I try to move. Like I said, it's more for the mom, just to give her a little bit of a break, let her dry up a little bit, move half of them off, and then give them another week and move the other half off. And then usually the week after that, I'm butchering. Jonathan says, got to say it's my first time to see you live. Well, hey, thanks for joining. I'm glad you made it. Michelle, I think I called you Michael the last time you were in here, didn't I? I'm sorry, it's Michelle. Good night to you. I hope all is well with you as well. Let me know. Are you the one that I did call Michael, but it's actually Michelle? Let me know. I get that name wrong all the time. I'm terrible at it. All right. What else we got in here? Oh, let's see. I lost some things. I'm way behind on the chat, aren't I? I got to catch up here. Hey, Allie Mae. Good to see you. Oh, go out to get your chickens before the big freeze hits. Well, we're already getting a big freeze here. Good luck with your chickens. Thanks for stopping by. Glad you made it. All right, I got lost in the chat here for a minute, so if I missed your guys' comments and I'm not responding to them, I'm sorry. Come back in, respond again. Mariano says, in Northern California, somebody must have asked where you live. You've hauled milk, flour, sugar, and, tankers. Now I do doubles. I always thought, like, being an over-the-road truck driver, and that's not, I don't think, what you're talking about, but being an over-the-road truck driver, like cross-country, I always thought, man, that'd be a really cool job for, like, 3 weeks, and then it would just suck. You'd be, like, so tired, ready to go home. But for the first 3 weeks, it'd be pretty cool. You'd be going all kinds of places you've never been before. It'd be kind of neat. All right, DT Quail and Rabbitry said, Chris, I have 2 bunnies become very skinny when the mom stopped feeding them. They did not make it, but the other 2 in the litter are doing great, eating regular food. Is this the survival of the fittest? It could be. It sounds like she probably wasn't producing enough milk. Excuse me. So, make sure you're not feeding them any kind of mint or any of those kinds of things that can dry up a doe. If it's not something you're feeding her, then I would try again. If it happens again, it's probably just bad genetics, and you need to look at replacing her, getting another mother rabbit. That would be my suggestion. So, Michelle, yeah, it is you. I called you Michael last time. I'm so sorry. Hey, if it's any consolation, though, you spelled my name K-R-I-S, which is usually a girl's spelling. It's actually C-H-R-I-S, so we're even. So, all right, Diana says, do you give any supplements to pregnant and nursing does? I don't really find it's necessary to give them any supplements. I do feed my does a little bit more because they tend to eat a little bit more. But no, I don't really give them any kind of supplements or anything. I don't find it's necessary. All right. Rabbit Skeen says, I'm always in your live, Chris. Well, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it. And for coming back every time. I appreciate that too. All right, Jonathan Ray says, can you raise quails in a rabbit cage, and how many you think? You can, but you're going to need to replace the bottom, the flooring. Rabbit cage, the spacing on the wire, it's like usually 1/2 inch, and that's just a little too big for the quail. They tend to get their feet caught in it. They're going to have feet problems. You need to go with like 1/4 inch hardware cloth. But you can lay 1/4 inch hardware cloth. I mean, I don't know if I'd lay it right over the bottom of that because it probably is going to collect droppings and get pretty nasty. But it's not that big deal if you want to just take out the bottom of that rabbit cage, or even, maybe make another floor just a little bit above that. So there's a gap between the two. That would probably work pretty well. Hopefully that makes sense. And depending on the size of the rabbit cage, just figure roughly a square foot per bird. You should be fine with that. And you can actually go a little bit denser packed than that. So like in a standard rabbit cage is usually 36 inches by 30 inches. So what's that in? That's like 36 is like 3 feet, right? Yeah, 3 feet by, let's say 3 by 3 to make it easy math. That would be about 9 square feet. So that would be about 9 to 10. You may be able to go as high as 12 birds in there. I probably wouldn't go over 10 in a rabbit cage that size, but that's about how many you should be able to get in there. Rabbit Scheme says, Mariano, are you in French camp? I don't know what that means, but Mariano says, I'm local home every night. Yeah, that's probably not too bad. Richard of Danbury. Richard of Danbury, that's an interesting name, says, quail egg facts, good for asthma, does not harbor salmonella. Yeah, I did a whole video on that one time on, the different things that they use to treat with quail eggs. The key is you got to eat them raw. You can't cook them or they lose all those benefits. But there's actually quite a bit of scientific evidence that quail eggs are pretty beneficial and have gone to, all kinds of things: diabetes, asthma. You mentioned eczema, all kinds of things that they've been used to treat. Who knows? All right. How can I add more protein into my quail's diet? Well, if you don't have a high protein food, then you're going to have to find some kind of supplement. You can do that a couple of different ways. You could buy like mealworms or black soldier fly larvae or raise those or any of those kinds of things. What I would do is just look for a higher protein feed. If you can't find game bird starter in the 28 to 30% range in your area, look for turkey starter. A lot of the time that's available where game bird starter is not, and it's usually a high protein, like a 30% protein, and it usually works fine for quail. It's got all the other requirements too. All right, Issy has a good suggestion here I've never heard of. Give the rabbit yucca root to increase milk production. One problem with that, you got to be able to get yucca root. I don't think I have any yucca root around here. I'm not sure where to get it, so who knows? Singleman says, let me know if you want to try metal nest boxes. Well, I use wire nest boxes right now, and I just line them with cardboard, and they work pretty well. I don't see any reason to change over, but who knows? I've seen plenty of metal nest boxes out there. I've never seen a reason to change. Joe has a good suggestion here. He says, I give my dose calf manna, 1 spoonful. Baby helps milking a lot. 1 spoonful. Oh, badly. Is that what it says? 1 spoonful badly helps milking a lot. Anyway, I'm not sure if I'm reading that right, Joe, but yeah, that's a good suggestion. A little bit of calf manna. I've forgotten already, whoever it was that asked if I give any supplements to my does, that's a good supplement to give. Calf manna would be a good one. All right, Adams TV says, how do I make a quail go into its coop instead of its run? You don't. I mean, if they're happy out in their run, leave them out in their run. Quail are ground-dwelling birds. They're perfectly comfortable sleeping on the ground, kind of what we would consider out in the open. They just kind of hide in the grass and stuff in the wild, so they don't really need a coop to go into. Now, if it's a raised-up coop, like you get a chicken coop with a ramp that goes up to it, a lot of times they won't use that. They won't get up in there. You can try putting boxes or something in there with like maybe a hole cut out that they can get into, but cut a hole out on each side so they can get in one side and out the other, and then they'll get trapped inside there, and they'll be more likely to use it that way. But they generally won't climb a ramp or anything to get up into a coop. So, I find mine are out most of the time. They're just out in the wide open. They don't get in the closed-in spot that much. Michelle says, never knew Chris as a girl. Never heard of a girl here on my island named Chris. Wow, none whatsoever. That's something new I've learned tonight. Well, I've known a couple of guys named Chris that spell their name like that, but generally speaking, K-R-I-S is the way girls spell their name. C-H-R-I-S is the way guys spell their name. My name's actually Christopher, but nobody calls me Christopher except for my family. DT Quail and Rabbitry says, what breed of rabbit are you looking to get replaced? It's whatever I can find. Right now there's somebody selling some New Zealand white buck that's right about breeding age, almost a year old. So that's probably what I'd get just because it's available. Somebody else has got some Californias, which I wouldn't mind getting a California to replace, but they're only like 4 months old, so I'd have to wait 2 or 3 months before they'd start breeding. All right, Justine says, hi, Chris. Started watching your channel a few months ago, and I'm almost caught up to current. I have 24 quail eggs in the incubator. Well, good luck on your hatch. I hope it works out, and I hope you get a successful hatch. Thanks for watching the videos, and good grief, go back through all of them. That's some dedication. I appreciate it. All right, where else are we getting here? I'm getting real close to having to close this video out. Go spend some time with the family here. We're about 55 minutes in, so hopefully I don't lose anybody's comments. We get all the questions answered. Let's see. Do you know anyone who would ship quail eggs to the Caribbean? I don't right offhand, Michelle. I'm sorry. I wish I did. I don't know of anybody that has the ability to get them there without them being damaged or just the time it takes. I don't know that that would work very well. Oh, daily. Joe, you're saying, okay, 1 teaspoon of calf manna daily helps milk production. That makes more sense. Thank you. Alex says, what happens if your buck doesn't want to breed, and what can you do if the doe is aggressive to the buck? Well, first things first, make sure you take your doe to your buck, not your buck to your doe. Always the doe to the buck. If she's aggressive, then you might have to kind of hold her, not hold her necessarily, but kind of block her from being aggressive with the male. Generally, she's not in the mood to breed. So what I would do is remove her from the cage, put her back in maybe that evening, take her out, put her back in the next morning, take her out, put her back in the next evening, watch them very closely. If she starts displaying a lot of aggression, take her out immediately and just try again later. Usually that'll kind of put them in the mood. If your buck's not wanting to breed, most of the time that's due to them being overweight. So you might, is he overweight? If he is, cut back on his feet a little bit. Hopefully he loses a little bit of weight and he becomes a little bit more frisky, so to speak. Also make sure it's a male. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's not uncommon for people to get a rabbit and told it was a male, and then they check, find out later it wasn't a male after all. Adams TV says, is it normal for quail to sleep on a branch instead of the ground? No, that's pretty abnormal. At least Coturnix quail. I don't. In fact, I think pretty much all quail are pretty much ground-dwelling birds, but there may be a few breeds that will do that. But as far as Coturnix, Japanese quail, no, that's not normal at all for them to perch. They are a ground-dwelling bird, and they pretty much want to be on the ground, on flat ground. Richard of Danbury, Chris Kringle. I don't know. Did Chris Kringle spell it with a K? Maybe. I don't know. Questy says, you're in Trinidad and Tobago, huh? I've never been there. I'll have to visit someday. Natalie Lopez says, what is the largest litter your rabbits have had and from what breeding pair? Mine was 10 kits from my 2 Dutch rabbits. It was my doe's second litter too. Let's see, I had a New Zealand white one time that had 11. It was a New Zealand white and I think it was 2 New Zealand whites, a New Zealand white buck and a New Zealand white doe. She had 11, or maybe it was 12, but 3 of them died. She couldn't maintain that many of them. Singleman says, I'm into New Zealand does and Cali bucks recently. On track for 150 pounds of meat per doe per year without intensive breeding. But I'm a cow, so I can breed year-round. I can breed year-round in the wintertime. It's the middle of summer where it gets just so hot that I usually take off and let the rabbits have a break. Because it's just, good grief, it gets hot. And I can't imagine that they're not very comfortable. So I just don't put them through that. But yeah, I get plenty of rabbit. I don't really intensely breed, and I don't have to worry about it. Of course, I don't eat rabbit every single day. I don't keep track of exactly how much weight I have each year, but I get plenty of it to feed us on a fairly regular basis. Okay, Bob Whites. Adams TV says, okay, thank you. They're Bob Whites, by the way. I would say that's pretty uncommon for Bob Whites, too. Some of them, have been kept in captivity and have been, what do you call that? Kept in captivity long enough, selectively bred. There may be some traits bred into them that's not normal in the wild. But in the wild, Bob Whites are a ground-dwelling bird. They live in the scrub brush and stuff, like at the edges of fields and things. And it's not common for them to perch to sleep. Yeah, I wish I knew somebody that would ship them internationally. I just don't know anybody that has the capability to get them to you in decent condition. If Michelle, did you ever say what part of the Caribbean you're in? I don't know. Oh, We're right at an hour, guys. I'm gonna have to get off here. I gotta go spend some time with the family. Hey, thank you so much, everybody, for joining this chat. Thank you, guys, or chat this video. Thank you for uh, every week coming back, spending some time with me, hanging out with me for about an hour. I appreciate it so much. Leave me some comments below. Come back after this video post. Leave me a comment below. Let me know, again, what kinds of things you'd like to see in upcoming videos, what kinds of topics you'd like to see addressed. And if I can get them addressed, I will. Probably do some container gardening, some of those kinds of things as we go. I got to get off here, guys, so if I missed your comment, didn't get it answered, I'm so sorry, but I got to stop at some time or I'll never shut up. So thank you again for watching this video, guys. God bless each and every one of you, and I hope every one of you has a good night. We will talk to you again next week. Take care.